Todd.
Okay, so this is Todd Atkins. I'm back with another episode of the MMA Conspiracy Hour with Miguel Iterati and Mike Davis of the Lights Out Podcast. Be sure to check out the YouTube channel Lights Out Podcast, best MMA history podcast anywhere. And before we start this, I want to read to you this short paragraph regarding the new information on the James Krause situation. And I want to let you guys respond to it. So I'm just going to read this right quick. It's not very long. So what's saying is ESPN is reporting that Krause worked as a middleman between bettors and offshore books for abcbetting.ag, a site based in Costa Rica. And what it says is he allegedly provided a line of credit and login information to place bets on sites to the gamblers. The bettors then would pay Krause directly using Venmo or PayPal. I'm sorry. Miguel, go ahead.
Well, that's illegal. I mean,
it's true.
The problem with that is that, every sports book that is operating legally in the United States at this point is open to some type of oversight through whatever state commissions are there. And at the end of the day, the FBI is an investigative body that could look into improprieties there. All the casinos deal with this. But there is oversight where somebody could come in and say, look, your casino, the payouts are weird. You're not paying out as much. Maybe your odds are not set correctly. That types of thing, the odds are slanted even heavier for the house. They actually are there to prevent that stuff. Nothing is there to prevent. They could ask Costa Rica, hey, give us your book so we can look at it and just see. The Costa Ricans may actually be operating ethically, but still they're not going to show the U.S. government their books. I mean, that's why the south of the border gambling is illegal still. So now these people take money back, and they block those people from credit cards and banking like normal people through their user the ID codes that they get from MasterCard and Visa. So it's not. That's why the Venmo and these cash apps and things become prevalent in that. And again, those companies, depending on where they're based, may not have an obligation to give the United States their records. Like Western Union, MoneyGram, all those types of transactions, the U.S. would have to actually go in and get all that detail, and I don't know if they can. So at that point, then he's going to be in trouble with taxes if he hasn't declared everything. I wonder what will happen. He will get off without going to jail if he actually received money, made money, and put in his taxes and said, this is how much I made operating my gambling business, and just left a one-liner but paid his taxes. I think he'd be fine. But that's unlikely to be the case at this level of detail. It looks like there was a lot going on, a lot of money flowing, and if he hasn't taken care of himself at that level, then the U.S. government will never know exactly the extent of it, because the companies he was dealing with are not going to give that over to the investigative bodies there. All that makes him look bad. So,
but wait, Miguel, does that have anything to do with the accusation of him fixing a fight?
Well, I think that's faded over time a little bit.
No, obviously not.
I still think that's the most serious problem he can face, and that is something that probably they are looking at as well. See if there's a text message between him and the recent fighter. If there's any questionable text messages, are you ready? This is how much we'll make, or whatever. But if they don't find anything like that, then it'll go away. And as information
it won't go away. The federal government always gets a guilty plea, and they go through They go through extensive lengths to make sure that they throw dick in you. Look at Tiger King. I mean, as crazy as this sounds, Tiger King, very animated, a methed out gay tiger handler who the federal informants plied him with drugs, baited him into saying crazy things over and over and over until they got the exact soundbite that they wanted, and he's doing 20 years in jail. They supplied him the drugs and agitated him to get the soundbite. So James Krause is under investigation for fixing a fight. Now they're talking about, man, it turns out he was working for these companies out of the country that take bets. Go to Colby Covington's, his current Instagram page. where he's got the models on each end, he's giving promo codes to a company in Costa Rica. That's what they do. Now, the setup and how elaborate it was and the amount of people that were wrapped up in it, him being the bank for them, not good. That has nothing to do with fixing a fight.
No,
Can I ask you guys a follow-up question right quick? I live in Oklahoma. Sports betting's illegal. Online betting's illegal. If I did this, is it a federal offense? What is it?
Technically, yes.
Yeah, I think it's a federal offense, but I think that you can circumvent some of that by declaring it on your taxes and paying your taxes on it, whatever that may be. That will alleviate a lot of the future pressure that you will, you know.
The reason I ask is because he lives in Missouri. I don't know the rules there, but in Oklahoma, this is all illegal. You can only do it on the Indian, the land there where they have their casinos.
Yeah. So Todd, I think this topic's been beat to death. And the reason it is because sometimes parts that are just or the normal process of an investigation or the normal process of somebody that's working with sports books, when the process comes out, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. When, I mean, anybody with half a brain who's actually dealt with some sort of gambling company in a different country, they all know, like, this is just, it's low-hanging fruit. This is easy. Like, Molina is the next guy that the Nevada State Athletic Commission suspended, right? So I don't know Molina. I don't know his involvement with Minard. I don't know that relationship. I don't feel comfortable even commenting on it because I don't know. I can't talk about something I don't know. But what I do know is that, like, the next thing that these talking heads on YouTube that have absolutely no sources in regards to real information, the next thing they're going to say is the feds are trying to get Molina to flip on Krause. Oh my God, he's telling on James Krause. It's over for him. And it's because they don't know anything, but they need hits in order to generate income on their YouTube page. Molina being questioned like this, I know he was a part of Minard's camp. If they had James Krause, they'd be sitting down in front of him, and they already by this time, and they'd say, we got you. We're going to give you like 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, this amount of fine, and you're going to plead guilty to this, and you're going to go right now. But if they didn't have him, what they do is they grab his friends, they hang them upside down, and then they say, okay, well, we're going to give you this crazy long sentence, or you can go and testify, which you're going to have to say these words, against your friend, even though it may or may not be true. That's how the feds work.
Now, just to add, Molina's going to have the Nevada Athletic Commission. Now, it used to be state athletic, but the NAC is going to give us their update on Tuesday. You guys have any idea what you guys think you might hear?
I don't know. Maybe a continuation of the suspension or a lifting of it. It's one of the two.
I'll offer you the following that could be a close on this. It doesn't, I think Mike hit it on the head that there's a lot of people that are doing, income-based stuff with companies offshore and making money and things like that. Maybe if they're declaring it on their taxes, they won't get into trouble. But there's a lot of activity going on, which is why I think that if James Krause isn't fixing fights, it's natural that they went ahead and shifted over to find and then found maybe Texas. That there's a gambling entity there. So they're going to hit him because he is going to go down. And I said that from the very beginning. Yes. And the reason for that is because they can't risk that a government institution, which is a state, these athletic control boards across the states are also tied to like gambling boards. And like in New Jersey, it's a state athletic control board with, athletics and gambling together. So they are overseeing the gambling aspect of that. And they do not want those entities to come in and say, what's up with this UFC? Are there fake fights in there? And they investigate the whole thing. Or how much income is being generated by fighters that's illegal or something. They don't need anybody looking further. So they would like to see the James Krause thing alleviate that hunger for a conviction that's there.
Hey, Todd, is this the first time anybody's done a fake fight in the UFC?
Well, no, they had that one that was
The
I
Asian
think
cat.
the Asian the fight there.
Yeah. Why didn't that receive as much press as this?
That I don't know. Maybe they got it over with fast. You
Okay.
know, was it in the U.S. that fight happened, or was it not?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But an actual fake fight happened where they knew. I did they find out before the fight even went down, or was it after? I think it may have been
Well,
before the
he
fight.
was supposed to throw the fight, and then he didn't.
Was that what it was? Yeah, and then they
Mhm.
found out. Yeah. Now, dude, here's the thing with James Krause. When you don't have a guilty on what you want, if you're the feds, then they start doing this is a press release. Then they start press releasing, well, we got your taxes. Okay. Well, are you weaponizing the government at this point to prove a point? It certainly sounds that way. You know, I know there's 87,000 more tax people supposed to be coming. Is this somebody, making a name for themselves? Because this has nothing to do with fixed fights. Now, I mean, I think it's as plain as day when you've got a Discord that makes, like, I think he was making six figures on his Discord a month. And if you've got that type of goal and you've got your own gambling show on the UFC Fight Pass, like you're probably keeping some money for somebody at some point and spreading it around. But being a bank, bro, that's not good news. It's not good news, but it still is not fixing fights.
Now, Miguel, do you have anything to close with on that?
No, I think that's a strong close. I do give that he's the fall guy to avoid a greater investigation.
Yeah.
And the last example I'll give on this is that we've heard the UFC considers we're going to sign this fighter or that fighter, based on their Instagram followers and that sort of stuff. I assure you that behind the scenes, they also have contacts at the sport books, and they know when a fighter moves the needle on the betting end very early. They post bets at this point for fights that are not in the UFC that are on lesser shows, and they definitely scout that number as well. And that, why do they do that? What's the interest? So that could cause an investigative body concern, and that's the last thing they need. So it just there's a lot of problems. The Doug Crosby problem is indirectly related to this, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I think the writing's on the wall for James.
It's unfortunate. They're going to make an example out of somebody that's doing something that a lot of other people are doing as well. Maybe not to the magnitude, but there's a lot of other people, current UFC roster, on the current UFC roster, doing the exact same thing, just not as big.
All right, so this is Todd Atkins. I think it's good to sign off on this as we did. And again, follow the Lights Out podcast with Miguel and Mike Davis. Best MMA history podcast on YouTube anywhere. Until next time, take care.